SpaceX, why bother? What's the point in SpaceX? Well, this is all part of the Tesla jigsaw. Hello, I'm Will. Welcome to my little studio in the middle of England. If you weren't aware, we are on a rock, hurtling through space at 67,000 miles per hour, in just one of billions of ordinary galaxies in our infinite universe. If you don't find that vaguely interesting, I don't think you've thought enough about what a miracle it is to be alive. On a grander scale, our future will be vastly more interesting by becoming a multi-planet species. For humans to be out amongst the stars will be our ultimate adventure. The Tesla and SpaceX connection. Elon Musk's ambitious plan to turn the human race into a multi-planet species starts first with the colonization of Mars, and that's going to cost a lot of money. SpaceX will fund a lot of it, but Musk says the only reason he's personally accumulating wealth is through his various ventures in renewable energy, electric cars and transport, is to help make this radical idea become a reality. When discussing the mission to Mars, Elon has said, "The main reason I'm personally accumulating assets is to fund this." And regarding his Tesla shares, he said in a tweet, "Major disbursements in about 20 years when Tesla is steady state, which means he'll sell a bucket load when they're more valuable." With the majority of Elon's wealth wrapped up in Tesla shares, this one-day colossal amount of money is what's needed to fund the mission to Mars. He's also confirmed his belief many times that Tesla will reach a valuation far in excess of any other business on Earth. And I'm happy to go on record and say after years of research into Tesla, Elon and all things related, at this point I see that as an inevitability. Just look at Elon's track record of near impossible achievements and you might spot it's wise to not bet against Elon. You might think I'm bonkers, and that too I'll admit, but I'm putting these pieces together on the Tesla jigsaw for all to see. If a simpleton like me can figure out what's coming, you can too. No offence. All Elon's ventures lead to Mars. Personally, I think Elon has been playing 4D chess for a long time now, and whilst he might seem compulsive and misunderstood a lot of the time, if you follow the breadcrumbs, his core mission has remained at the foundation of all of his business enterprises. When considering Mars, do you think it's an accident that Elon's boring company is boring tunnels underground, or that he's working to solve just the labour market with millions of Tesla bots, or building out a global, fast and stable satellite internet service for our planet, or even with the purchase of Twitter, which could one day be the only app you ever need for communication, finance and entertainment? Then there's autonomous vehicles, mining, weapons-grade air filters, manufacturing capacities, software and AI like no other. You may have noticed all these businesses line up very nicely in being useful for the colonisation of Mars. Let's take a look then at what SpaceX is doing right now here on Earth. SpaceX has been designing and building rockets for over 20 years. The learning curve has been immense. From its early days of seemingly doing nothing but creating expensive fireworks displays, it has done the impossible. What no other rocket company in the world could do. Build reusable rockets. As in, they plummet back to Earth, spin around a bit, pop their little legs out and land gracefully. Mostly. As you can imagine, this is far more cost effective than having a rocket burn up and disappear when returning back to Earth, which, believe it or not, was the previous strategy of rocket flight. Imagine using an aeroplane just once, then scrapping it and having to build a new one. Not very cost efficient. With 60 space launches in 2022, that's a doubling from the previous year, it's clear that SpaceX is on track to not only shame the competition, but also provide incredible new opportunities for humanity. Here's 5 ways that Here's 5 ways that SpaceX is helping humanity. Number 1. Satellite internet. As Skynet was already taken, SpaceX decided to call their satellite internet service Starlink. Bit more light-hearted. This provides fast and stable internet connection to any far remote places on Earth, including the Isle of Wight. For the first time, sailors at sea and even unfortunate places at war can get a dishy McFlatface Starlink terminal and get life-changing access to the internet. With 90% of Earth remaining uncovered by internet access, millions of people are starting to benefit from Starlink, and it is yet another game-changing, life-saving service from Elon Musk that many people just don't know about yet. Number 2. Space launches. Back in 2011, the Space Shuttle Atlantis became the last American space shuttle to be launched into space. Thankfully since then, SpaceX has rewritten the rulebook with reusable rockets and cheaper space travel, and has become the sole path for NASA astronauts to get to and from the International Space Station. And here's a nice example of why Tesla doesn't need to advertise. Model X's drive the astronauts to the landing pad for the world to see. Pretty cool. By offering lower priced transport into space, SpaceX makes money by charging both governmental and commercial customers to send goods, as in satellites, cargo and people, into space. Do you have something you'd like to send into orbit? A wife, a husband perhaps? Book yourself a delivery into space with costs as little as $275,000 for a 50-kilogram package. Wonder how much she weighs. Past and present missions include the Starlink mission, which has sent over 3,000 satellites to low Earth orbit, which delivers broadband internet worldwide. The SpaceX Dragon Demo 2 sent NASA crews to the International Space Station, showing the world what the Dragon capsule was capable of, and what supersuits SpaceX had made for them.
Where's my supersuit?
Inspiration 4 was the first all-civilian mission to orbit, which was an amazing series on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend watching. Another mission is Starship, which is a secured satellite network for government entities that supports national security efforts, Earth observation and communication. Possibly ran by this guy. Upcoming missions include the Dear Moon crew, made up of artists, content creators and athletes, will have a week in space, travelling closely around the moon and sharing their experience through their art form on their return. I was so excited to see Tim Dodd, who's the everyday astronaut, be a part of the crew. He's a great rocket science teacher, YouTuber and enthusiastic content creator. Link in the description below for way more in-depth space stuff than I could do. The Polaris program will be the first flight of SpaceX's Starship with humans on board. It will test the Dragon capsule's maximum performance, and tests will include Starlink laser-based communications in space and the first ever commercial spacewalk. Did you know only 24 humans have been to the moon? Well, NASA's Artemis program will finally see humans return to the moon after 50 years, plus the first woman to walk on the moon. SpaceX's Starship spacecraft and Super Heavy rocket represent an integrated and fully reusable launch, propellant delivery, rendezvous and planetary lander system. This will support long-term human exploration and at last a settlement on the moon. Finally get some cheese. Oh, I do like a bit of Wensleydale. Number 3, Colonize Mars. Elon's stated goal for SpaceX is to reduce space transportation costs to enable the colonisation of Mars. This involves building thousands of reusable rockets, sending enormous amounts of payloads or materials to Mars, and literally setting up Planet B. For anyone screaming at me saying, we should sort this planet out first, then please A, see what Tesla is doing to address that problem, and B, ask yourself a hypothetical question. If World War III happens, and the stupidity of humanity does actually bring about our extinction, or even if an asteroid wiped us out, as they have done countless times before to life on Earth, wouldn't it make sense to have a backup plan for our species and colonise Mars? 4.5 billion years of our evolution to be wiped out in the blink of an eye if we don't at some point become a multi-planet species. A self-sustaining city on Mars, that could be a stepping stone to colonise other moons and planets someday, would become totally independent of Earth at some point, and might one day flourish as the last planet in our solar system to sustain life if something did happen to Earth. That's cheery, isn't it? If you are a little fed up of the human beings running this planet, you can apply to join a mission. Maybe the one to Mars if you really want to get away. See SpaceX's website for more details. Number 4, Earth-to-Earth transportation. SpaceX's plan is to provide rocket travel here on Earth. With Starship and Super Heavy, most international long-distance trips will be completed in 30 minutes or less. In addition to vastly increased speed, one of the great benefits to travelling in space outside of Earth's atmosphere is the lack of friction as well as turbulence and weather. Imagine most journeys taking less than 30 minutes with access to anywhere in the world. Let's just ignore the terror of takeoff and landing vertically, shall we? Number 5, spacecraft manufacturers. A quick rundown of all SpaceX spacecrafts. It's hard to say, isn't it? The Falcon 1 was the first SpaceX rocket to reach orbit. Given the first 3 blew up, if the 4th attempt had failed, SpaceX would be in the bin of history, as Elon had bet his entire fortune on getting it to orbit. Thankfully then, the Falcon 1 reached orbit and Elon could take a nice long vacation. It didn't though, because Tesla was on the verge of bankruptcy and about to enter the 2008 financial crisis. You have to admire his tenacity. The Falcon 9 is the world's first reusable 2-stage rocket, designed to transport people and payloads into Earth orbit and beyond. Reusability allows SpaceX to refly the most expensive parts of the rocket, which in turn drives down the cost to space access. To date, there's been 194 launches, 152 landings, and 131 total reflights of the Falcon 9. The Falcon Heavy is composed of 3 reusable Falcon 9 engine cores, whose 27 Merlin engines generate more than £5 million of thrust at liftoff, equal to 18 747 aircrafts. As one of the world's most powerful operational rockets, Falcon Heavy can lift nearly 64 metric tons to orbit. Orbit? The hell's orbit? This is twice the payload of the next closest operational vehicle, the Delta IV Heavy, but at just 1/3 the cost. Following liftoff, the 2 side boosters separate from the centre core and return to the landing site for reuse. The first flight of Falcon Heavy put a Tesla Roadster and its passenger Starman into orbit around our sun. As I watched this happen live with my son, I can say this was one of the most inspiring, exciting things I'd ever seen. I urge you at the end of this video to watch the 2-minute cut of the mission. I'll have a go at linking it as the next video to click on. See if that works. Dragon. The Dragon spacecraft can carry 7 passengers to and from Earth orbit and beyond. It is the only spacecraft currently flying that's capable of returning significant amounts of cargo to Earth, and the first private spacecraft to take humans to the space station. Dragon is equipped with Draco thrusters that allow Dragon to manoeuvre while in orbit, and 8 Super Dracos that power the spacecraft's launch escape system in the event of a malfunction during liftoff. In addition to flying astronauts to space for NASA, SpaceX's Dragon spacecraft can also carry commercial astronauts to Earth orbit, the ISS, or beyond. The Dragon has completed 37 launches, 32 visits to the International Space Station, and had 15 total reflights. Starbug. No, that would be Starship. Huh, not Starbug. God, I hope Robert never watches that. Sorry, big Red Dwarf fan. Starship. The Starship spacecraft and Super Heavy rocket, collectively referred to as Starship, represent a fully reusable transportation system designed to carry both crew and cargo to Earth orbit, the Moon, Mars, and beyond. The spacecraft will come in crew, cargo, tanker, deep space, and lunar lander configuration, and it might be available in many different colours, who knows. Starship will be the world's most powerful launch vehicle ever developed, with the ability to carry in excess of 100 metric tons to Earth orbit. With a much larger payload compartment, i.e. more luggage space, Starship can deliver more satellites further and at a lower cost than anything else. It will spaciously transport people and cargo to the ISS, carry the necessary building blocks to the Moon, provide Earth-to-Earth travel, as well as interplanetary transport. Building cities on Mars will require affordable delivery of huge quantities of cargo and people. The fully reusable Starship system uses in-space propellant transfer to achieve this, as in you refuel whilst orbiting Earth, then be on your way into the solar system with a full tank. This allows long-duration interplanetary flights. This video simulates the physics of Mars entry for Starship. Starship will enter Mars's atmosphere at 7.5 kilometers per second and decelerate aerodynamically. Smack on the brakes at the last minute and land gracefully. How cool is that? So given the rapid speed of SpaceX's progress, just imagine where they might be in a couple of decades. I would assume that a base on the Moon might be alive with tourism, and that space travel has become a fraction of today's cost, and really starts opening up people's minds to the reality of our place within the universe. Imagine an endless stream of starships carrying cargo, Tesla bots and humans to Mars. Perhaps by 2050, Mars will be on its way to becoming a fully self-sustained civilization, and the birth of the first baby on Mars would technically be a Martian. If the rockets one day stopped coming from Earth, for any cataclysmic reason, it will be up to the Martians to carry the light of our consciousness into the future. So what do you think? Fancy going? I don't. Maybe a nice trip to the Moon for my 70th birthday. I'd like to watch an Earth rise. Here's a link to the Falcon Heavy and Starman video. Turn it up and enjoy David Bowie. I can't play here because of copyright, hence I'm linking it for your full pleasure. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks very much for watching. How am I going to end this one? Oh.